This video is brought to you by Driver61. Driver61 now has a motorsports store, so if you're looking to buy a new racing helmet, overalls or more, head over to driver61.com/shop for some great deals. Hi, I'm Scott Mansell and welcome to Driver61's University Series. In this tutorial we're taking a look at what not to do when you're trying to overtake. One massive problem that I see with amateur and gentleman drivers is that when they're trying to overtake on track, they'll make some kind of half move. And this half move is when the driver comes from quite a long way back, they're not properly committed, and generally they'll come together towards the apex, or they'll be very lucky not to make contact. So what we're going to do here is look at the footage from one of my clients on board at Rockingham here, coming down to the Tarzan hairpin. First of all, we're going to watch it in full speed so you can get a feel for how the cars are moving and what the actual issue is. Then we'll go through frame by frame with some more detailed analysis so that we can really understand what's going on. So there you go, there's the footage in full speed. What we're going to do now is take a look frame by frame. And as you can see here, on board with my driver, we've got a good exit coming out of the quick left-hander here at Rockingham. And the car in front of us has actually made a mistake. What he should really do here, the car in front, is actually keep the car over to the right-hand side a little bit. We're coming down to a hairpin, which is quite a big braking zone. And he should keep the car over to the right because he knows he's got a bad exit and he knows that there's a car quite close behind him that might be looking to overtake. So just block off the route on the right hand side so the car behind, the car that we're on board with, can't try that overtaking maneuver. However, the car in front, the black and purple car, does move back onto the normal racing line. At this point, our onboard car seems to have already made the decision. He's kept the car over to the right hand side 100 meters or so before we get on the brakes. Seems like he's already made the decision, and this can be part of the problem. I think the red mist might have come over him and he thinks he's going to overtake this car. The issue for me is look at how far behind the car in front we are. This is a long way. The braking distances in the radical are very small, so it's difficult to lunge somebody from such a long way back. The other thing is these two cars are quite similar in pace. The two drivers are quite similar in pace, especially in this race. And so, yes, you may be lucky and you may be able to overtake a car from this distance back when there's a massive difference in speed and in lap time. But if there's only around a second or so difference in lap time, it's going to be extremely difficult to come from this position. So there's a couple of things going on here. As we come down into the braking zone, you can see that they've both actually got on the brakes at about the same point. The red lights on the car on the left, the black and purple car, just come on about here. And if you watch the data trace down here for our onboard car, we're getting on the brakes at about the same time. So if we're getting on the brakes at about the same time, we're offline on the inside of the track. It's going to be very difficult for us to overtake, for one, but also to slow the car down. And the worry about coming in from this angle is that we meet both cars at the apex here. Once the onboard car is committed to braking this area, he's not really got anywhere to go because the car on the outside is only going to come down towards the apex. So if we're on the brakes and having a bit of a moment here, we can't move out of the way of the car in front of us, and there's a high potential for contact. Now, sometimes it is good to position your car just to the right hand side of a car in front if you do think he's going to be on the brakes a little bit early. So you can just jink your car, put it in this position here so that if the car that you're trying to overtake does get on the brakes early, you're in a good position, you're already in a straight line and you can get on the brakes. However, if he brakes at the same point as you and quite late on the brakes, you can just pull the car back in line and then open up the hairpin as much as possible and possibly try to get him on the exit. My one issue with the car here that we're riding on board with is that we've committed to this inside line really early, but we've still got loads of space here between us and the car that we're trying to overtake. And there's no real reason for this. Maybe there's a little bit better visibility all the way on the inside here, but there's no real reason. So all we're doing is restricting ourselves and compromising our exit, because we're coming in on such a tight line, and then we've got to turn through the hairpin really tightly and we'll get a bad exit. So we're just costing ourselves time being this far over to the right. So what would be better if he does want to overtake is to bring the car a few feet away from the right hand side of the car that we're trying to overtake. That way, if he does get on the brakes early, we can nip up the inside, but if not, we're still not on a terrible line for the hairpin, and we're reducing the amount of time that we're going to lose from putting ourselves in this position. Okay, so let's move the frames forwards a little bit further so we can see what exactly happens as we're coming down to the apex. And you can see that the onboard car now, we are catching the black and purple car up. And at this point, he's got to be a little bit worried that we're going to come to the apex together. And as you can see at this point, we've got so much steering angle in the car. We've got a car coming across to the inside. We're not going to overtake him. It's all happened way too late in the corner. And we're lucky here not to have any contact. If the car on the outside had gone on the brakes a tiny little bit earlier, or the onboard car had gone on the brakes a tiny little bit later, then it would have been quite likely that the two cars would have come in on this apex together and made some contact. Luckily, we managed to ride the curb and just managed to miss the car in front of us. But I will say that that's a little bit more luck than judgment. And you can see now on the exit, look at how the car in front of us is moving away from us because we've come on that tight line. So what do we do? What are the best options to try and overtake? Well, we're going to cover that in future tutorials. But in summary, the best way to overtake is to first make somebody defend. So as you're coming down to a corner, you pull your car across to the inside, try to make them defend if you've got a good run coming out the previous corner, and then put yourself back on the proper racing line. That way the car in front of you is offline and won't get a good exit coming out of the following corner. Therefore, you can try and get alongside them down the next straight and possibly get the move done there. Most overtakes from professional drivers are actually done on the straights. They'll get a better exit coming out of the previous corner and there put themselves alongside the car that they're trying to overtake and then finish the overtaking maneuver in the next corner. Overtaking maneuvers are rarely done with massive lunges, as we've seen tried in this video. Thank you very much for watching this Driver 61 tutorial. Please help support us by sharing this video, and if you need any motorsports goods, please check out the driver61.com store at driver61.com/shop. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.